This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Knowing Technology Spark session. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that the slide deck that I'll be working from can be found at the URL here on the slide, and it is, I believe it's case sensitive, so it's bit.ly/K Spark 323. Or if you have a phone or an iPad, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you right to that slide deck. Within that slide deck, you'll find links to all of our sessions and links to other really helpful resources and recordings of our sessions. So our session today will be recorded if you want to go back to it, or if you have any friends that were interested that weren't able to make it here. Just to get started, for those of you who may not know about Knowing Technologies, we're an educational technology company, and our mission is to expand opportunities for empowered learning, collaboration, and innovation. We do that by working with schools to deliver strategy-driven services, working with school administration and educators as they articulate their goals and vision for teaching and learning, and identifying how technology can support those goals. We also provide managed services, back-end IT infrastructure support to support those goals, and then an instructional innovation coaching program to help teachers as they realize those goals. Our coaching program usually is a year-long sustained professional development experience where we meet teachers where they are and help them build out their curriculum and skill set throughout the year. However, over the last couple of weeks, we've all been thrust into a new world of remote learning. And so we've been busy working with the faculty of all of our schools to support them in this new transition. My name is Elaine Wren. I'm the Director of Educational Leadership and Strategy in Southern California for Knowing Technologies. And I work with this talented team of educators who span the range of experience in K-12 education across subject areas. So we've really been busy these last couple of weeks helping people as they make their transition. And one of the things that we felt would be helpful to our schools as well as to educators around the world are these short 30-minute Spark sessions. So we're offering these all week, and please check back because we'll be continuing to offer these in the coming weeks. And it's just an opportunity to jump into a webinar, learn a little something about a tool that we feel will be that you could use effectively in a remote learning environment, and not only just how the tool works, but how it can really impact teaching and learning for you and your students. So as I mentioned before, these sessions are all being recorded. We're using GoToMeeting right now, so there is a chat window. Feel free, if you have questions as we go through the webinar, to add any of your questions. And just everybody take a deep breath. We're all moving into uncharted territory, and just remember, wherever you are, you got this. So today's session is on screen recording on iPad. And in this slide deck, you'll find a link to some resources, directions, and examples that I'll be sharing throughout the webinar. But just to give you an idea of the structure of our session, it's a 30-minute session, so we'll be moving quickly. But again, you'll have access to all these resources. I'll start out by doing a live demo of how to set up and do screen recording on your iPad using the built-in tools in the iOS. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about some ideas of how you can actually use this both to deliver instruction and help students gain a deeper understanding of concepts, as well as how your students can use it to demonstrate their understanding. We'll also talk about some other options for screen recording on iPad. There are several apps that have some built-in whiteboarding and screen recording features, and I'll share those with you. And then finally, some hacks for screen recording on older iPads. I know a lot of you might have iPad 2s out there that are still hanging in there, and they don't have this built-in feature, but there are some workarounds for that. So I'll be sharing that with you as well. And again, if you come back to this slide deck, probably in about an hour, you'll see a link to a recording of today's session. So what I'm going to do now is jump into a live view of my iPad. And if you've never used this feature before, the first thing that you need to do is add this into your control center. So I went to the Settings app, and then I'm going to go to Control Center and Customize Controls. From there, I'm going to scroll down and find Screen Recording and tap on the green plus sign, and then just make sure that it shows up in my Include category. Now when I go back to the home screen, I can swipe from the upper right corner and my Control Center shows up. And you'll see this little circle here that wasn't there before. The first time that you do this, you're going to want to 3D tap and hold down and make sure that your microphone is showing as turned on. If you tap on it, it toggles on and off. And when you first set it up, it will often show up as being off. The other thing you want to make sure is that Photos is checked off because that's where your screen recordings are going to end up. If you have other apps installed, there are some other apps that will interact with this feature, and so you want to have it set up for Photos. Then I'm just going to go back to my home screen. Now from here, in order to start recording, all I need to do is tap on this little button, and I'm going to get a 3-second countdown, and it's going to start recording. Don't worry if it starts recording and you'll be able to cut some things out later if it starts recording things that before you're ready. So I'm going to tap on record, I'm going to get my countdown, and then I'm going to go back to my home screen, and I want to do a screen recording reading a book. So I'm going to tap on the iBooks icon, and this is a wonderful story written by Paul Hamilton, an educator in Australia, and he's actually offered it for free to educators around the world. It's a great way to introduce coding concepts. So I want to create a screen recording of it. So I'm just going to get started. If I Were a Wizard, written by Paul Hamilton and illustrated by Simon Howe. The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. Gabe Newell. Okay, class, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a professional football player, Henry confidently states. I want to be a teacher, announces Bonnie. I want to be an architect, says Milton. And so on. You get the idea. When I'm done recording, I'm going to tap, when I'm done with what I want to record, I'm going to tap on this little red button, and it's going to ask me if I want to stop recording. I tap on stop. And then I get a little message telling me that the recording is being saved to my photos. So from here, I can go into my photos, and if I scroll down and tap on videos, I'll see my last screen recording right there. Now remember I mentioned that you might not want the beginning of the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on edit. And down here at the bottom, I have a little trimming area where I can trim out the beginning of the video. So I'm going to get it right up to where I see the cover of the book. And then I can also do that with the end if there is something that I want to trim out at the end. When I can play it back, full story written by. And if I'm satisfied with the way it's trimmed, I'm going to tap on done. I have a choice to save the video just as it's edited, or if for some reason I wanted to save the original, I can save it as a new clip, but I'm just going to save the video as is because I don't care about the parts that I trimmed out. From there, I'm going to tap on this little, I think it's technically called the share sheet. I like to call it the share arrow. And I have a lot of choices of what I can do with that video now. I can airdrop it to my computer so that I can work with it and upload it into another learning management system. I can transfer it into my OneDrive or my Google Drive. I can add it to Seesaw. So it really just depends what direction you're going to go from there. You can also save it to your files so that you can upload it directly to a learning management system. I'm going to pause there for a while. Are there any questions about that part of the process? All right, well, we will go from there then. Just checking the chat. So as I mentioned, you'll be able to play the screen recording back, and I've also given you a couple of pages of step sheets to remind you of the steps in setting up a screen recording, starting and ending it, trimming your video, and then options for uploading your video. So let's talk about some ideas of how you can use this in the classroom, because I always like to say it's not about the technology, it's about what you do with the technology. This slide has links to several examples. I won't have time to show you all the examples, but I encourage you to come back and take a look at them. And there's, I'll be adding links as I've actually put some messages out to some teachers to get some of their examples to add. But you know, one of the most common things that people think about when they want to do a screen recording is the obvious narrating yourself, recording a lesson or slide presentation for your class. And this is definitely a very valid use of screen recording. I'd encourage you to really try to filter down your lesson to a short period of time so that the students really get the kernels of knowledge that they need before they start to tune out. But beyond that, there's so many other creative things that you can do with screen recording, both to deliver instruction as well as to have your students show their understanding. One of them I just demonstrated for you right now. You can record yourself reading a digital story aloud. It's really important right now for our students. They're all feeling very isolated, and to be able to hear your voice is really meaningful to them. And there are a lot of authors who are actually offering up the ability for you to do read alouds without, you know, they're offering their books for you to film and post without any worries about copyright infringement. On the flip side of that, you can use this as a way for your students to be able to practice and demonstrate their fluency. So you can teach them this screen recording practice and give them an assignment where they record themselves reading a book and then upload that to you so that you're able to monitor their fluency. You can use this to create a demo video to show your colleagues how you use a particular app in your teaching. So here is an example of one of those demo videos. This is a first grade teacher, and she's using a manipulatives app called Number Pieces. And she's just created a brief video to show people how this app works and how it can be used in the classroom and the value add that it has. So I'll let you go back and watch that yourself. You can also use it to explain a math or science process using a whiteboard or virtual manipulatives. So you can have your students, again, use that to demonstrate their understanding, or use it as a way to show a concept that you're introducing to students. Another thing that you can do is use it to describe a photograph or a work of art and explain what's in the image and the techniques and features in that work of art. You can use screen recording to tell a story with animation to show your understanding of a concept or to illustrate your understanding of vocabulary words. You can use it to create a tutorial video to teach others how to do something. If students can teach other people how to do something, then it's very likely that they have a better understanding of that concept. Another thing that you can do, and I think a lot of world language teachers like to do this, is to take a video and turn the sound off and then add your own dialogue or explanation of what's happening in the video. This is great for world language as well as for explaining science concepts. Another thing that I've seen language arts teachers do is to annotate and explain feedback on a writing sample. So you can take either a writing sample that you're going to demonstrate to the class, or even give one-on-one feedback to a student on their own writing. Record yourself annotating and giving them oral feedback on their writing. Again, it's really important for our students to feel connected to us, and being able to hear your voice and hear you explaining your feedback will really help them to feel like you're right there in the room with them. Another great use of screen recording is to narrate a tour of the world using Google Earth or Tour Builder. And then finally, you can also take these videos that you create and combine them and add them into an app such as Edpuzzle, where you can insert embedded assessment into the app. And so I believe we're going to be offering a webinar next week on Edpuzzle, and I encourage you to come back and explore that tool as well. So in addition to the built-in screen recording options for iPad, there are also some apps that have screen recording built in. Seesaw, the learning journal, is one of my favorites. We're gonna go through a couple of these just so that you can see what's possible. Aha, Vicky Ishida, is there a way to add captions? That's a great question. Some of these apps have, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I know that you can add captions into GoToMeeting, and I know that you can add captions in Apple's Clips app. As far as having a built-in captioning feature, you probably would have to take these into something like an iMovie and add the captions after the fact. But that's a very important point for accessibility. So I will get back to you with some ideas for how to add captions as well. So Seesaw is a learning journal app that is being used a lot in remote classrooms right now. And it's a really simple way for teachers to deliver assignments and activities, and for students to respond and submit their learning directly to the teacher and then get feedback. So Seesaw has a built-in whiteboarding feature that allows you to pull in a template that the teacher has created, and then the students are able to record their voice and annotate over that and create a video.
A quadrilateral must have straight lines and 4 sides. This is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides and straight lines. This is not a quadrilateral because it has 5 sides. This is a quadrilateral.
So you can see how simple that is, and that's all built right into the app, so the students don't have to go to multiple places to create the screen recording. However, there is also the option for students to create screen recordings or videos in other apps and then upload them into Seesaw. So if you're not already familiar with Seesaw, I would encourage you to look into it. We're actually going to be giving a Seesaw Spark session on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And there are a lot of resources out there from people who are using Seesaw now in their remote learning. Flipgrid is another really great app that's being used widely for remote learning right now. And this is an app that allows you to post a prompt, and then students can post video responses to your prompt. One of the options is a built-in whiteboard that allows them to add images, text, annotation, and voice. And so here is a prompt that I'm sure a lot of you may have already done in one way or another as you've started to launch remote learning, which is to have students post a picture of their remote workspace and describe it. This is my remote workspace. I have my laptop. I have water so I can stay hydrated. I've got a note paper and pen because sometimes you have to go analog. I have hand sanitizer because, well, COVID. So there's a lot of creative things that you can do right within the Flipgrid app, and I'd encourage you to explore that. We actually just gave a webinar on that yesterday, and if you go into the slide deck that I linked to at the beginning of the session, you can actually go back and watch a recording of that session. A couple of other apps that have some more sophisticated features built in for screen recording. Doceri is one of them, and this is a free app. It allows you to lay out slides, and it records you as you are writing in the app, and then you can go back and record audio over it. And so this is an example. Well, actually, I think it's explained in the example. I'm going to play it back for you a little bit. In this example, a science teacher was looking for an alternative way for her students to demonstrate their understanding of different chemistry-related topics. In this example, a student created a video lesson to walk through a specific laboratory investigation. This video provided a multisensory learning opportunity for the students. So you can see how you can use it as a way to deliver information, but students can very creatively also show their understanding. Another app that is even more sophisticated in this way is called Explain Everything. This app is actually a paid app, but right now during school closures, they're offering it for free to schools. And it has also the ability to lay out several slides with video and text and images and animation. And then the ability to record on each slide and go back and edit your recordings. There's also some built-in laser pointers and other tools that make this a more sophisticated tool for creating screen recordings. And so I encourage you to check out this app out as well. This is an example of a world language animated story. I think I have it here. There we go.
El Tornado. Cuento e ilustración por Bill Denham. A Berta la cerda le gusta su granja. Berta pasa todo el día y noche en el corral.
So you could see that that might be a much more engaging way to show their understanding of vocabulary beyond just writing up some sentences, explaining or using the words in a sentence, and a really fun and engaging way for students to show their understanding. Another app that you can use to do screen recordings is called Loom. It uses a similar process to recording as I demonstrated, as the iOS tool that I demonstrated, but one difference is that it records straight to the cloud, and then we'll just give you a link to your video that you can post in your LMS, or you can also download the video and then upload it to another location. It does have a companion app and a Chrome extension that works on Macs and PCs. And it is free forever. They just made it free a couple of weeks ago, and they promised that it would be free even beyond school closures. We're actually giving a tutorial in Loom on the Mac and PC this afternoon at 3 p.m. I didn't demonstrate it here because I found that there were some interruptions as it was saving to the cloud, so I preferred to save it to my photos. But this is a great app if you want to be able to save all of your screen recordings in one place. And again, the desktop app is a very powerful app which has some other really great features, including the ability to add a picture-in-picture so that your students can see you as you're teaching. So I know I had at least one person asking about how to do screen recording on an older iPad that's a pre-iOS 11. So if you have a Mac computer as well, you can actually connect your computer with the charging cable to your iPad, and then using QuickTime Player, you can do a screen recording of what is on your iPad. So I've given you the steps here to be able to do that. And this is definitely a viable way to create screen recordings if you don't have the built-in features in the newer iPads. If for some reason that doesn't work, another way that I actually used to do screen recordings before it became available in iOS is using an app called AirServer. And this is a paid app, but it's not hugely expensive. So you can connect your iPad to your Mac. When you, it's almost like you're using an Apple TV. You go to AirPlay and you'll see your Mac on the list of available mirroring resources. And then you just mirror your Mac to your iPad to your Mac, and then use QuickTime to do a screen recording of what's on your iPad. If you're interested in screencasting on your Mac laptop with QuickTime, we're actually going to be having a webinar on that, I believe, tomorrow. So feel free to tune into that as well. So we made it through with just about 3 minutes left. I'd be happy to take any questions. Feel free to enter them into the chat. I hope that this has given you both the confidence to jump in and start trying screen recording on your iPad, as well as some inspiration for some ideas as to how you could use it in your classroom. And I'll definitely be following up with you, Vicki, on some options for captioning. There are definitely some resources that that we found useful for this. I'll hang in there in case anybody has any other questions. And if not, we'll be saving this recording, and feel free to come back to this URL here, and you'll find a link to the recording in case you want to go back and run through the steps or share it with any of your friends that weren't able to make it today. Thank you very much for joining us. Oh, somebody has a question. You're welcome. I'll hold on for your question. Oh, great question. So QuickTime is actually an app on your Mac computer. So what you'll do is you'll plug your iPad into your computer using the USB cable that you use to charge your iPad, and then you'll start up QuickTime on your computer. It's a little queue here. You can search for it on your Mac by going to the little spotlight up here and typing in QWI, and it should come up and you can open it from there. I'm actually using it right now to record the webinar, so I can't demonstrate the whole process. But if you go back to this slide, you will see the steps. You want to make sure that there's a little caret next to the record button. You're going to make sure you choose your iPad as the screen, and then once you do that, your iPad will show up on your Mac, and then you can use QuickTime to create a screen recording of that iPad. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you are interested in learning any more about Knowing Technologies or have any questions about our webinars, please feel free to email us at info@knowingtechnologies.com. And good luck to everyone. Take care.